Hello my dear friends and welcome back to another video. So we finally got the Book of Boba Fett episode 1 and I'm just gonna flat out say right from the outset that I freaking loved it. I'm going to save my full review for the very end where I'm also going to give you my rating. But just as an overall verdict, I went in expecting something good and what we got in my opinion was just incredible. Robert Rodriguez understands Star Wars, he just simply gets it. He did a great job with chapter 14 in The Mandalorian season 2, but based on this opening episode of the Book of Boba Fett, he exceeded all my expectations. And what was really awesome, aside from the incredible score, was how he combined the western feel we're accustomed to in The Mandalorian with the Godfather feel, the one that Ming-Na said was going to be at the heart of the show. Another thing to note, contrary to what we were told, not all the footage from the trailer appeared in this opening episode. There are still many questions to be answered about Boba's journey from after the Sarlacc until The Mandalorian season 2. So I rewatched this episode 3 times before making this breakdown, and I really can't remember the last time I enjoyed an episode of anything Star Wars this much. As I said, I'll say more about this at the end, but without much further ado and without any more jibber jabber, let's just get straight into the breakdown. So this episode, chapter 1, is titled Stranger in a Strange Land. We see Jabba's palace at sunrise, the murky throne and the insides of the palace. The camera pans across the room as it did in Jedi before we see Boba in a bactopod that he uses as part of his daily routine. Boba suffers from PTSD-induced dreams which serve as flashbacks of his recent and also distant past. What I did not expect was the most wonderful surprise: flashbacks to Attack of the Clones, the waves striking Topoka City on Kamino, and then of course a young Boba picking up Jango's helmet on Geonosis after he was beheaded by Mace Windu. Now, I think you guys know what I'm thinking, and I think that specific flashback is going to be really important for a future episode, because it's very clear that the loss of his father is still very important to him, and I think they position that flashback right at the start of the show, and they're only going to address it probably at the end. Do not be fooled, they did not just throw that in to remind viewers of what happened. There are still things haunting him from his distant past, which he also reveals to Fennec when he says the dreams are back, because they are very much a recurring problem that she's aware of. Now, what's brilliant about the episode 2 flashback of Boba on Geonosis is that it's been reshot. They didn't just recycle Attack of the Clones footage. They got a young Daniel Logan lookalike and extended that original scene with a few additional frames. As a prequels fan, I just can't explain to you guys just how much I adore that. And then, my friends, the episode finally gives us answers as to how Boba escaped the Sarlacc Pit, and of course the events that followed. So we see Boba inside the Sarlacc being compressed in the digestive process. Interestingly enough, Boba's escape, the one we just saw which is now canon, is very different to how he escaped in Legends. In Legends, he tricked the beast into contracting around and igniting his jetpack. The explosion that followed propelled Boba out of the Sarlacc, but now, as we see in the Book of Boba Fett, the official explanation is that he punches a hole through the side of the Sarlacc and flames his way out through the sand with his flame projector. When he emerges, Boba is raw, and in way worse shape than when we saw him in The Mandalorian. Those ghastly stomach acids really took their toll. Another thing I love is the touch of Jabba's destroyed sail barge in the background, but one question, which we haven't got an answer to yet, but I'm sure we will next week or the week after, is how Bib Fortuna survived the wreckage and made it back to Jabba's palace. Answers are still to come on that one, but we do get an answer as to how the Jawas, who later saved Cobb Vanth, come to possess Boba's armor. They literally peel it off his stranded body and leave him there for dead. Now, before this episode, we assumed that Boba was saved and taken in by the Tusken Raiders, but the full story is far from that romanticized one. He was captured as a slave for the Tusken tribe, he is taunted by a Tusken kid, and of course their pet, another Tatooine creature, the Massif, who is a species that first appeared in Attack of the Clones, but at this stage it's been used in The Mandalorian as well. Now, you might have noticed that the Tusken tribe look remarkably different to Tuskens we've seen in other Star Wars projects. Well, that's because they are. While we have no official name for this specific tribe just yet, they function in the same capacity as the Gahanoro tribe did, and these types of Tuskens preyed on settlers, those who were deserted, and off-worlders, taking in hostages and using them for labor. Now Boba tries to escape and is unsuccessful. He is brought back to the Tusken camp. Now we're going to return to this flashback later because it's interspersed at different points throughout this episode. So back to the current day, word has gotten out that Boba is the crime lord. Fennec calls him boss, again signaling Godfather vibes. He he sits on the throne as various dons come to pay their respects and tributes. The Aquilish Don offers a chest of credits, and a Trandoshan who we assumed was female, who is actually male, by the name of Doc Strassi, who Boba said he used to work for, presents him a pelt. What's really cool is that this Trandoshan calls Boba the new daimyo, which in feudal Japan was the appellation that you gave to powerful magnates that held estates at the pleasure of the shogun. Now, the only one who does not give tribute but rather asks Boba to pay tribute is the male Twi'lek, who is the major domo for the Ithorian mayor. Since Boba relays the message that he will not pay, there is the threat of being visited again soon, a prophecy fulfilled a few scenes later, but we will come on to that. Now, throughout these visits, the one introducing all of these dons is 8D8, a droid we see in Return of the Jedi, who used to serve as the torture droid for Jabba the Hutt. He has now been repurposed to serve Boba and Fennec, but Boba even admits that they really need a protocol droid. Boba also acquires Jabba's old Gamorrean guards, who are portrayed as the brutish and dim-witted species that they're a part of. The next important scene is when Boba and Fennec wander through Mos Espa and come to an establishment owned by Jennifer Beals' character. We find out her name, Garsa Fwip, and of course one of the biggest Easter eggs of the episode is Max Rebo, who used to play at Jabba's palace, and a member of the Modal Nodes, who are the Bith group we see in A New Hope. And if you listen closely, they're playing a variation of Cantina Band, which in universe is actually called Mad About Me. Did you know that? Well, now you do. We also get another cool Easter egg. An RX series droid is the card dealer on one of the tables. Now, these were the pilot droids who originated when Disney World opened Star Tours in the late 80s. Since they've been in universe in 2 episodes of Star Wars Rebels, they're now appearing again in the Book of Boba. Garsa Fwip comes up to Fennec and Boba, and we don't learn much about her, other than the fact that she's the proprietor of what she calls the Sanctuary, a little slice of paradise. But now, since Boba Fett rules the land, he has come to pay her a visit, and he is trying to establish a different kind of reputation on Tatooine. We don't get much of this character, but we do learn that contrary to rumours, she is going to appear in more than one episode. She clearly knew Jabba and Bib Fortuna, and I think they're teasing that she has ties to the galaxy's underworld, but I suppose her importance is going to be saved for a different time. So when Boba and Fennec leave, they're confronted by these shielded red fighters, the ones we saw in the trailers. After a showdown which forces Boba to retreat to the Bacta chamber and sees Fennec take one of them hostage, we still don't know who they are or who they work for. My guess is that they work for the mayor, who, as the Twi'lek Major Dormo warned, would send out someone else to visit Boba. Well, this, my friends, is the quote-unquote visit. An attempted assassination. Now, the episode ends with another Boba flashback. When Fett and the Rodian are forced to dig for water, we get a look at a moisture farm which looks like the Lars homestead, but it isn't. And it's been robbed by the Nikto group we see in the trailers, the ones who Boba is going to twat in a future episode and teach them a lesson. But for now, they got away, but they're clearly a dangerous threat. Now, there's a reference in this scene to A New Hope. When the Massive and the Tusken Kid are resting while Boba and the Rodian have to dig for water, Boba proposes that they run, and he proposes that if this time he doesn't sound the alarm, he'll take him to Anchorhead, which was a small town on Tatooine which offered connections to other cities on the planet and was also a chance to go off-world. The reason it's a reference to A New Hope is because Luke says to Obi-Wan, "I can take you as far as Anchorhead." A lovely little reference. So when Boba and this Red Rodian are digging for water, a massive 4-armed beast emerges. And this thing was a freaking dinosaur of a beast. This creature, for all I know, is new, and there's no existing canon about it. But Boba is able to kill and behead it, and the Tusken Kid brings the head back to the camp, which astonishes the other Tuskens. Just like the Krayt Dragon Pearls in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, the head of this beast is a symbol of conquering and strength in Tusken culture. But we must wonder if this Tusken Kid took credit for the killing, or told the others that Boba killed the beast. I suspect the latter, because the Tuskens seem a lot more friendly towards him after that, even offering him some water. But I must say that creature at the end was so out of left field. I was not expecting that. What a surprise. Now, a few of you in the Discord server have already asked me if this creature is maybe what we thought was a Rancor in the concept art, and my answer is no, there is still a Rancor to come. And the concept art and the Rancor have nothing to do with this beast, After all, this creature served the show for one scene, and clearly in the trailers, Boba and Fennec clearly have something in that cage beneath Jabba's palace. So that was the episode, and my gosh was that one hell of a ride. And my rating for this one is a solid 9.5 out of 10. It was everything I wanted in an opening episode for Boba. It was paced just right to give us a taste of what's to come. And to describe it in one word, I would say it was refreshing. It was fresh, it was new, it was different, and it also, as I said at the start, was a little kiss to Star Wars fans, saying we get it and this show is for you. And we were all starving for live action Star Wars, and this was such a great start. What a great Christmas gift as we prepare for episode 2 next Wednesday. But I want to know what you guys think. Did you enjoy this episode? Did you think it was underwhelming? Overwhelming? Was it what you wanted? I want to hear what you have to say. So drop a comment, and if you liked this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. But otherwise, my dear friends, I'll see you tomorrow where we'll be talking more about this episode. I'm Star Wars Meg. May the Force be with you, always.